What do firefighters and Joe Rogan have in common when it comes to maintaining peak performance? After over 10 years in the job and crushing this workout dozens of times, I can tell you this viral kettlebell session is ideal for building first responder fitness. In this video, we're gonna break down the sets, the reps, and why this is optimal for building fire ground, fire ready performance. Time to work. First things first, if you don't track it, it never happens. So starting this workout on the Garmin, absolutely love this thing for training, for running, but pro tip, so we don't break it, turn it on the inside when we're training with kettlebells. That way you don't scratch that face up. First thing we start with is 3 sets of 20 reps, heels elevated squats into 20 push-ups. I absolutely love these. A lot of times if people struggle to get into a deep squat, it's actually their ankles that are the problem. So the nice part about these wedges is it eliminates your ankles so you can sink nice and deep with ease, and also loads those quads and those knees to warm everything up nice as we get started. So 20 reps here to begin, hitting that lower body, and then we're gonna go into 20 push-ups, warm up that upper body. Regardless of if it's the Rogan workout or my normal training, I absolutely love these 2 movements to warm up the whole body for a session. One thing with this session, and this is why I absolutely love it, is you're gonna notice I'm gonna be working really, really fast. Minimal rest intervals. That way we're working strength and conditioning all at once. And that's why this kind of stuff is so good for first responders and firefighters. And that's why someone like Joe Rogan would train for it. Doing Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, tactical athletes, like they need to be strong, but they also need to have that all-day engine when they're rolling. Set number 2, 20 squats, 20 push-ups. I get a lot of questions of the shoes I wear. These are Vivo Barefoot. You'll also notice Rogan trains in these as well. Awesome foot strength is super, super underrated, and they're my go-to training shoe. Another 20 push-ups. Common mistake I see a lot with push-ups, people flare their elbows out. We're just using our shoulders there. Rotate those elbows in, 45 degrees. That way you're gonna be able to utilize that chest and get a real strong push-up. Set number 3, final set, 20 heels elevated squats, 20 more push-ups to finish this warm-up. If you're short on time and wanted to get an amazing workout, just do this and push-ups for 10 rounds, and I guarantee you're gonna be smoked by the end of it. Training doesn't have to be complicated in order to be effective. Last 20 push-ups. Beautiful stuff. Warm-up complete. Transparent Labs Hydrate strawberry flavor in the shaker going down. On to the second exercise, which is gonna be single arm kettlebell swings. We're again gonna do 3 sets, this time 10 reps per side. We're going with the big dog 70 pounder, just like Rogan today. Why would someone do a single arm swing versus a double arm swing? When we have single arm and we're loading just that one side, not only are we working that hinge, but there's a ton of anti-rotation, because obviously when we have it on one side, we're really having to stabilize to make sure we don't twist too much. So a lot of anti-rotation stability work you get using the single arm swing. That's it, you guys. Simple, explosive, dynamic movements, full body in nature. This is why these type of workouts, and this workout in particular, is so amazing for first responders. We need explosive strength. We need that aerobic engine. We need that rotational and anti-rotational stability just because of the nature of what we do. Forcing doors, advancing hose lines, climbing stairs, it requires all types of fitness. Kettlebell training does all those things all at once. Minimal time, minimal equipment, super effective. Set number 2, 10 per side, We're gonna start on the other side this time. I get a lot of questions, people asking me like, what weight do I start with? First things first is always build a really good foundation to work from. Then always start with a weight that is lighter than you think you need. I'd rather have you master the form and focus on quality over quantity. Master the movement, wait till you feel 100% confident, and then start to ramp up through progressive overload. You want to talk about grip strength, holding hose lines, holding tools, swinging that 70-pound kettlebell with all that momentum. You're going to fire up that forearm, that bicep, everything just to make a razor vice grip. Set number 3, start on that left side this time. Final 10 reps on that right side. Anti-rotation, but that's firing up glutes, hamstring, that whole posterior chain is having to work for those. So now we're gonna move on to a single arm press, and that's another reason why I love this workout and I love kettlebell training, is the unilateral nature of the work. As firefighters, first responders, monitor, saw, tools, a lot of times we're holding things on just one side. Traditional barbell movements are bilateral, meaning both sides. This unilateral work really reflects the demands of our job, and that's why I love movements like this. So notice what hand is your dominant hand. You're gonna feel it's a lot stronger. When you go to that other side, I know for me it's my left side, I can feel that imbalance. I can feel that I'm slightly weaker on this side, and that's another reason why unilateral training is so beneficial. It's gonna help correct those imbalances and make sure we're as strong as possible on both sides. As humans, asymmetry is the name of the game. If you notice, when you go down on one knee, if you pick up your kid, there's these patterns, there's this repetition. So we're gonna build these imbalances. We don't wanna demonize them. We just wanna try to equalize them as much as we can. 10 reps per side. Big boy. I don't want to use a ton of leg drive, but using multiple muscles in the body to help you get that weight overhead, again, is something that we want to be able to do. That way we're more effective and efficient in our job. Doing a military press from a seated position, working that muscle in isolation like a bodybuilder, not going to translate as well into something where we're using that entire kinetic chain. Left side now. If I'm doing something unilateral on the front rock, that weight is 4 times at my hip. So I have a 70-pound dumbbell, that's 280 pounds at the hip. Because of leverage, if I go overhead, that's 8x. And this is why we talk about doing a lot with a little with a kettlebell. I don't have to squat or press 300 pounds. If I utilize a kettlebell effectively, I'm getting a lot of the same stimulus with a fraction of the weight. Injury risk goes down, but we're still having a workout that's just as effective. So again, it's not about lifting more, it's about training smart. As I mentioned, we're gonna go back and forth. I'm not always gonna start on my right side. This time, we're gonna start on that left side. This isn't a barbell, this isn't machine work. All the stabilizers around that shoulder, when I get to those end reps, are having to work so hard, and that's what's really gonna help bulletproof that joint. When we have a whole bunch of artificial support, whether that be with a barbell, with a machine, where those muscles aren't having to work, we overdevelop the prime movers, and then everything that assists that muscle is underdeveloped. And you can imagine how that's gonna be an issue, because when we have to actually do something like that in real life, because of that imbalance and because of the lack of whole joint stability and strength, we're gonna run into some issues. Shoulders working, but watch this core work. Final set. final 10 reps. Another common mistake I see, we're not out here pressing. When we're working with a kettlebell, we're up in that front rack and we're pressing from this orientation. I'm not trying to be a hero like Rogan today, so we're gonna swap out the 70 for a 53 to do windmills, because this is a prime example. I'm gonna practice what I preach. I know that I can get pretty dialed form with a 53. To do a windmill for 10 reps on each side with a 70 is beyond my capability. So we're gonna weight down here. We're gonna grab the 53 for these windmills. Again, quality over quantity, you guys. We'll quickly go over the setup for a windmill, because this is something that a lot of people struggle with, because this doesn't only require a ton of core strength, but it's also a lot of coordination, understanding a hip hinge, as well as strength and flexibility in your posterior chain. So we're gonna bring that kettlebell up. We're gonna go up into this overhead orientation. We're gonna pivot our feet away from that kettlebell, and then we're gonna send the hips back as we hinge, keeping that weight up overhead. One thing I find that is really helpful, keep your eye on that weight. And again, we're working a ton of stability in that shoulder. And as we finish that movement, as we finish that hinge, again, you can see I'm sending the hips back. We're gonna come up overhead, drive with that glute, and really get a good contraction at the back there. So 3 by 10 per side here. And that's it, you guys. Avoiding movements like that, what we have to realize is we need to move in those more atypical ways to build tolerance and capacity. If our range of motion is only this big, when we move outside of that, we get injured. But if our range of motion, tolerance, and capacity is this big, you can see that we eliminate so much possibility for injury, because we've exposed our body to those stimulus in a controlled setting. Because again, as a firefighter, as a first responder, you're inevitably gonna be put in those positions whether you like it or not. So let's build the tolerance here so we can perform out there. We draw these comparisons between bodybuilding and functional training. If we really be honest with ourselves, what do you think is gonna make a more bulletproof, a more resilient first responder? Hypertrophy work in isolation, or someone who's doing stuff like that? Mobility, flexibility, strength, rotation, all that kind of stuff. This is why I stress this, and this is why I'm so adamant and passionate about this. I did the powerlifting, I did the body, and at 25, I was broken. And with doing this training, I can confidently say I feel better at 30 years old than I did at 18. And I wish I could go back to that kid and shake him and tell him, this is the way to train. Hindsight's always 20/20. Good luck telling an 18-year-old that just wants big arms that he should be doing movements like that. But holy smokes, I can only imagine how much literal pain and headache I would have saved myself if I started training like this sooner. When we train in more of that like bodybuilding style, like, yes, we want to build big lats. We want to have those muscles look big, but think about the muscles in your back that are actually the most important. All the paraspinal muscles, your erectors, your QL, this big muscle that connects to your lumbar spine, to your hips, and allows you to laterally flex. At the end of the day, when you put the ego aside, what muscles do you think are more important? These big things that allow us to look good on the beach, or the things that are literally supporting our spine and facilitating full body movement? But when our training gets very, very static and robotic, we lose that ability to rotate. We don't walk like this, Our spine is the engine for movement. So the more that we can train for these things, the more that we can train the spine, the more athletic we're gonna be, the more resilient we're gonna be. Again, I could go on and on and on again, but at this point, it should be clear. So set number 3, not trying to throw up gang signs by accident. We're gonna go set number 3, 10 reps to finish for these windmills. I am much more impressed nowadays by someone that can do a 200-pound bent press than someone that can back squat 405, because there's a certain level of multifaceted strength that is involved there. Mobility, flexibility, all that stuff, that is truly impressive. Like I said, I'm using a 53. Rogan's using a 70-pound kettlebell. That's big, not even for those muscles of the hip and low back, but just the ability to be able to control that with that shoulder joint is huge. Final 10. When I first started doing a lot of these functional movements, coming from more of a hypertrophy bro split, there were certain muscles that I couldn't feel contract. And I'm like, these muscles have turned off, what's going on? When I started to increase mobility, I started to feel a lot stronger of a contraction. A lot of people think the muscles around my hip are tight, therefore I got a foam roll, lacrosse ball, all that stuff. But your body and your nervous system is incredibly smart. If a joint has a limited range of motion, your nervous system is going to tighten the muscles around that because it wants to preserve the joint and avoid injury. So the funny thing is as you increase mobility, the body says, hey, we have more range of motion. These muscles in turn loosen off and you'll start to get more function in that joint. If we ever understand what the root cause is, i.e. improving mobility, we're just gonna be chasing this never-ending tail of trying to use massage and acupuncture and all that stuff to get out of pain, when in fact all we had to do is just increase capacity, tolerance, and range in that joint. You can foam roll and stretch till the cows come home, but until you get your joints actually working and expressing their full range of motion, your body's gonna fight you every step of the way. So now we're gonna get into one of the most underrated core and back exercises, which is the Renegade row. Joe does 3 sets of 10 with a push-up in between per side. I only have one 70-pound kettlebell. We're gonna try this with the 62s. Again, you guys, this one is gonna absolutely torch your core as well as your back. As you can imagine, when I pull, and you'll probably see my feet lift off the ground, as I pull into that hip, the amount of anti-rotational strength that I have to make sure that I keep my back nice and flat is going to light that core up like nothing else. And again, obviously we're working grip strength, biceps, and back with that pulling motion. And Joe, just cause he likes to make it more spicy, he adds a push-up in between. The wider you go with the feet, the wider your footprint, the easier it's gonna be to pull in. The more narrow, the more difficult, obviously, it's gonna get. The big thing here, and if you're X Games mode with these, you should be able to put a lacrosse ball or a tennis ball on your back while you're performing these. It should stay nice and flat. We wanna avoid too much twisting. What that tells me is, again, we lack that stability and we're trying to get it in other places. So that is a real indication that you're progressing with this movement. We're gonna go 10 per side with the Renegade row, 3 sets, push up in between. Woo! Let's beat that horse to death. What do you think is more beneficial? Supporting my body with my hand, with a bench, or using my entire kinetic chain, literally every muscle from my toes to my fingertips to create that stability? I'm not gonna say that this is the most effective way to build muscle if hypertrophy is your only goal. There is alternative methods that might build muscle faster or more effectively. But when we talk about what actually matters, feeling good, performing good in your life, on your job, these movements simply can't be beat. Light me up in the comments, do what you want, but I can guarantee this is the stuff that is gonna make you a more capable, a more functional, a stronger, more resilient human being. On to our next set. Last two, baby, come on. Oh, can't say that on the internet. AJ, you couldn't put the quack over that. Oh, almost done. We're sweating. Heart rate right now is about 145. Aerobic capacity, functional strength, all at once. Sound like a broken record at this point. TL, best Crocs in the game. Link in the description. Final set. That's it, you guys. The viral Joe Rogan kettlebell workout. Perfect for firefighters. Perfect for first responders. Functional, effective, minimal time, minimal equipment. I'm dying. I gotta pump. I'm sweating. Until next time, see you guys later. And if you liked videos like this, YouTube tells me you're gonna love this one. See ya. Job-specific performance without hours in the gym. Let's work. I hated that.